Hi everyone, today in Integrated Math 1, we're going to go over Chapter 10, Lesson 3. Here are the objectives. Make sure you write them down in your notes. Alright, first thing that we're going to do today is go over the distance formula. D is equal to the square root of y sub 2 minus y sub 1, which is squared, plus x sub 2 minus x sub 1, which is also squared. We're trying to find D, which is this line segment here. We have our 2 points. We have x sub 1 and y sub 1. We also have x sub 2 and y sub 2. The first x and y, the second x and y. That's where that's coming from. So this is not a very easy way, looking at it, there's not really an easy way to determine what that distance is. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend this out. So until they meet up to form this point here. So keep on going, makes a little triangle here. So to find our D, we want to find y sub 2 minus y sub 1. We're finding the change in y. So you should think about this, remember this from slope. And we also need to find the change in x. So once we do that, we'll have those numbers. But then, also notice it forms a right triangle when you are doing this. So when you're forming a right triangle, when you have a right triangle, you should be thinking of a certain formula. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Remember that? The Pythagorean theorem. Well, let's say this x is, let's say this y is a. So we're going to say that we're going to plug that in as y sub 2 minus y sub 1, which is squared, plus our b squared, which is going to be our change in x. X sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared, which is equal to c squared. Well, c squared, all we know right now is that it's d squared. But the problem is that I'm not trying to find d. I'm not trying to find d squared the way it is. I'm actually trying to find d, not d squared. So in order to get rid of the squared, I need to square root it. And if I square root one side, I have to square root the other side. So now I have the square root of y sub 2 minus y sub 1, which is squared, plus x sub 2 minus x sub 1, which is also squared, which is now equal to d, which is how we got our distance formula. So the midpoint formula is when we have our two endpoints and we want to find that middle point. Notice this is called the middle point between our two endpoints. So just like the distance formula, we can label our points. So in this case, A is labeled x sub 2 and y sub 2. C is labeled x sub 1, y sub 1. Well, if we're trying to find that middle point, we need to add our two x's together. X sub 1 plus x sub 2. And we're going to divide it by 2 because we want to find the middle of the two numbers. Think about it like you're finding the average, and there's only 2 points, so you need to divide it by 2. It has to be even on both sides. Once you find your x midpoint value, then you need to find your y midpoint value. Y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2.